Hi everyone, welcome. Besides this delicious feast of different fruits and veggies for the European nightcrawlers, I also had a little side project I wanted to jump into. It's because this is the system where I've been running this compostable bag for 244 days. It's been kind of getting really frazzled, and I have already seen one good sized chunk of it come separate from the main piece. So I've got two pretty good sized pieces. Before the thing starts to get into smaller bits, I thought I'd like to try to sort of contain it. So I thought I'd use one of these red net bags. I'm pretty sure it's here in container number 1 where the compostable bag is running. So once we pull it out and check it out, I believe we're going to put it inside a red bag so that further composting of it could occur without too much risk of me kind of being rough with it and tearing it or something. And I think that'll just better prevent any sort of rough handling becoming the reason for it breaking down, so we can really just observe its breakdown by stuff cruising on it and eating it and stuff like that. So, well, these feeding zone indicators seem to be holding up pretty good, or at least the one over here in bin number 2 seems to be. If we can preserve them, that would be good, because you might have noticed in the food supply tray, there's no coffee today, no fresh coffee filters. Although, you know, if I really needed to come up with some fresh coffee filters, I've got a whole bunch of them here, so I don't know why I'm being stingy. There's even a couple more over there. So I've definitely got replacement feeding zone indicators, but these feeding zone indicators look like they're in great shape. Let's hang on to them. Let's unearth this container here, because this is where I'm pretty sure we're going to find the compostable bag. Probably not too deep, so I'd like to try to get a whole section of material around it moving first so I can actually spot where it is. I think I saw some of it already here. I'm not even sure if this is a chunk of it might have come off, maybe not. This is definitely part of it though. So let's see if we can get it out of here without any man-made damage. Just let worm bin damage be the only stuff we observe on it. We have been trying to draw as much worm traffic onto this thing as possible by always placing it on top of delicious foods or in between layers of delicious foods. So it is, somehow it does to me appear a little bit more frazzled than it had been previously. It even makes me wonder if it's worth going to all the extra effort of trying to keep it as a single piece versus perhaps leaving it in the wild, if that's the right way to think about it, and just leave it to whether or not we're even able to find something that resembles it in oncoming sessions. We still have the option to abandon the use of the red bag. I almost feel now, just based on what I saw there, it did almost seem to me like over the past 12 days since we last checked in on these little guys, like there's been progress. Maybe I'm imagining, I don't know. But it definitely looks pretty... Wow, yeah. Somehow it does look different. There's a distinct piece. There's definitely at least 3 distinct pieces at this point. And like some of this stuff in here is actually just blending in. This is the stem of a pepper, breaking down pretty nicely. But whatever. Let's excavate the feeding zone, where the feeding zone indicator was over here in bin number 2 as well. Nothing as exciting as a compostable bag going on over here. Here it's just run-of-the-mill worm bin composting. There's a good bit of moisture down the middle. There was some sort of green leaves. I don't know if it was perhaps the leaves of cauliflower or something, because you know I think one of the main ingredients in today's assortment is this huge stem of a cauliflower. We got apple, banana peel, pepper, cores, chunks of lime. There's all kinds of interesting stuff in there for them. Some of the stuff I just can't separate, like that big huge stem is going to have to go into one or the other system. So I tried chipping away at it, but it was still pretty much frozen solid. I couldn't really budge it, and that was not too long ago. I'm thinking it's still probably frozen solid, so instead of trying to divide it, we'll just toss a coin, and one or the other system will get it. I've got a couple pieces of paper I'd like to do away with over here. They're two halves of a pretty large napkin. So I tore it in half. And then there's like one paper towel, I think, and one napkin maybe. They're similar but not the same. But who cares? It's a little bit of bedding material. And, you know, feeding zone indicators come back into play as is. Let's give these guys a little bit of this. I had this set up right behind me in case I wanted to use it, and I think I do want to use it. I mean, these systems aren't even 100 days old yet, you know, so giving them a nice amount of fresh bedding at each feeding is a good idea. Especially with that nice assortment we're giving them today. There's all kinds of, oops. Oh well. I just dropped my supply of bedding on the floor. All right, you know what? Break time. I'll be right back. Sorry. All right, here we go. My clumsiness will be to the benefit of the worms. So they're just going to get all this yummy extra bedding, which would have just gone right back up on the shelf if it had not ended up on the floor. But since it ended up on the floor, instead of putting it away, it seemed only fair to give it to these guys, no? I think so. Plenty of space to drop all kinds of yummy food. This is apple. Compliments of my mom. Here's some banana peel. I believe banana peel had been one of the previous feedings because I remember putting the banana peel in contact with the compostable bag. And you know what? I had second thoughts about using this thing. I mean, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on doing it that way, but it just seems more exciting to actually allow the stuff to just continue getting broken down without any coddling or protection, and continuing to do it in a way that we've been doing, which is, you know, putting it right in between all kinds of delicious, yummy foods to try to get as much worm traffic in there as possible. And that means a whole bunch of, oh look, there's actually two of these. I thought there was only one, but there is one that's distinctly larger. We'll give it to these guys. But there's a whole variety of other things in here. There was some lime and more pepper cores, a whole bunch of frost going along for the ride with some of this stuff. Well, perhaps not a huge feeding, but it definitely makes me feel like I've been able to clear out a little bit of space in my freezer by putting this together for them, and I think that'll work just fine. So these pieces of newspaper, you know, some of them look like they're still holding out pretty good, especially the ones over here, but let's just give it to the worms as yet more bedding. How does that sound? I think they're going to appreciate that. Then, you know, let's pull these out to the side just so we could do a nice little fluffing up of material in here. Make sure our feeding zones are covered up, and we'll just use that as an excuse to go to the outer edges and give the whole system a nice little fluffing. Kind of pull some of this loosened up stuff inwards, make sure our feeding zones are covered up nicely, and then we'll be done. I guess this gives us the option to go hunt down another replacement top covering. Piece of newspaper if we wanted it. I don't know, for systems this age, I feel like I still have the option if I want to use leaves as a top covering, which is always something I think the worms like a lot. So why don't we do that? I think I've got some in my box. The leaves are just something I shy away with in my older systems, but these systems not even 100 days old at this point, I think could do quite nicely with a nice little boost, even a bigger boost now, since they're getting all that stuff I dropped by accident. as well as the top coverings that we thought we might just reuse. That went in as bedding too, down by the feeding. So definitely already a nice generous application of bedding, but even so, we're going to give them even more. Give them the top covering of leaves. They're going to love it. Still seeing chunks of the food that we threw in here. We certainly did give them a lot of shredded cardboard and paper, so the stuff is not too far below the surface. I could see it here and there peeking out, but you know what? I think that's going to be just fine. Oh, by the way, I did find a couple of the pieces of the other container that fell, where the container where the prepared bedding is. It does seem like that was part of the handle on one side, so gripping it there is going to be just gripping the top anymore, not really gripping the tub below it. Oh well, clumsy me. That's what you get, right? This will be cool. We'll just leave it this way. We'll leave it with no coverings this time. Let the worms actually come up and take a little sip of collecting dew on the top covering newspaper. I mean, on top of the top covering plastic here if they want it. Maybe next time we'll come back in with a piece of paper, but for now, oh, I almost forgot, the leaves. We wanted a top covering of leaves. And you know what? I got a lot of them. So let's even cover up the feeding zone indicator at this point. How does that sound? Not even going to go too fancy. A lot of times I'll spread this stuff out, but perhaps just leaving it in a pile like that will make for an interesting next check-in. We'll see it and we'll be like, why did we do it that way? No real reason, I suppose. All right, I got a couple things to take care of, getting cleaned up and put away, but before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up, and that would be very much appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.